Time for another session of In the Labs with Tracy Gibbs. I'm Dr. Tracy Gibbs, Chief Science Officer for LifeWise. When you get right to the core of it, what is the root cause of all disease? Topic, the root of all disease. I'm going to give you some stats. We're going to read some studies, and I think some of these studies are going to open your eyes to the pandemic that we have going on, not just in this country, but a global pandemic. You know, the WHO and everything, they focus on viruses and everything, but when you get right down to it, the root cause of all disease kills more people than any virus, probably since the Black Plague, where about 1/3 of Europeans died within this 10-year time period that took place for the Black Plague. And it did spread throughout the world. It started in Asia, but we have better records of what was going on in Europe, and that's why we focus so much on the Black Plague in Europe, especially in Italy and France. But when we look at the root cause, what I'm going to be talking about tonight, I think it's going to blow your mind. I would love for you guys at the end of this presentation to share this link, share the information, because people need to be aware of what's going on. They need to know this information so that again, knowledge is power. You can't prevent something from happening unless you know what's coming and how to prepare for that. So I'm going to get right into it and I'll give you the answer right away because I don't like leaving people dangling. There are two causes of all disease, two root causes: malnutrition and toxemia. Okay, these are the root causes. And I know there's doctors out there maybe listening who say, oh no, there's genetic disorders. Number one, you're wrong with that. It's typically epigenetic disorders, weakened genes over time caused by environmental factors from our ancestors. I think that's what doctors mean when they say genetics, when actually it's epigenetic gene mutations and gene weaknesses that occur over time within a familial pedigree. That's what doctors mean when they say genetics. It's not really genetics, because genetics means that my parents are going to give birth to a human who has 2 arms, 2 legs, a mouth, 2 eyes. They're not going to give birth to a fish. That's genetics. Epigenetics are the slight mutations that happen in our genes over a lifetime or sometimes over generations, caused by environmental factors and nutrient intake. Malnutrition, which mal is from the Latin root word, and anybody who speaks Spanish or Italian knows this, mal means bad. It doesn't mean low, like we think malnutrition means, oh, they're starving, they're malnourished. No, malnutrition means bad nutrition. Overeating or undereating is the definition of malnutrition. Malnutrition leads to a weakened immune system, the development of chronic diseases through mitochondrial failure and DNA signal disruption. That's where we get those genetic kinks that cause these genetic diseases, the epigenetic, right? Hormonal imbalances is another cause of malnutrition. Organ failure, the impediment of proper brain function. So certain chemicals that your body needs to produce are all from the nutrients we ingest. There's only one way to get nutrients, the way God made us, and that was to orally ingest something. Needles, IVs, those are man-made things and they're great and they save lives. But from a purely nature, genetic sequence, we are made to ingest food. Our bodies have this amazing process that converts it to nutrients. Okay, not just your vitamins and minerals, but all of the phytonutrients, all the amino acids, all the trace minerals, everything, all combine to make every single hormone in our body, every chemical that our brain needs, every chemical that our gland needs, whatever. The last thing, malnutrition impedes our body's ability to heal itself. If you had all the right nutrients you needed, you could literally cure every disease out there. Let's get into toxemia. I'm not going to talk long on this, but toxemia, the second cause of malnutrition. These are the environmental factors I was talking about, mostly with poisons, chemicals, gases, bad air, pesticides and herbicides from the last 150, 170 years. It's our pesticides, herbicides, the chemicals we put in foods. That wasn't a problem 200, 300 years ago, but it is now. And this is why you see the disruption. So toxemia causes cellular communication disruption. Whenever they say, oh, your brain's missing, has this chemical, but it's not reading it right, or you have ADHD or whatever, all of these things, this is cellular communication disruption, which toxemia causes. Endocrine system disorders, all of the different glands in our body and how they communicate with each other. especially plastics, impede those functions, hormonal imbalances, brain function, and elimination organ failure. These elimination organ failures, disruptions in the brain, disruptions in the hormone, the glandular system, and the endocrine system disorders, which there's about, I think, 68 different known endocrine system disorders right now. These are all caused by the toxins in our environment. So I'm not going to focus on that too much tonight, because if your body's getting the right nutrients and the right quantity and supply and variety of nutrients, even your body's elimination organs will function better, which will prevent toxemia from happening over time. Now, there are some instances where you get poisoned and your elimination organs can't eliminate that poison fast enough to where it'll cause organ failure and death or other types of disorders. In the event, for example, toxic amounts of fluoride in our toothpaste, fluoride in our water, fluoride in the beverages that we were drinking because they were bottled in plants that were in the city water systems and everything. We were very toxic with fluoride, and all the vaccinations that contain mercury causing all these disorders. Your elimination system can't keep up with all of those toxins, even if you're getting proper nutrients. But again, aside from that, I'm just talking day-to-day living. You're not getting vaccinated, you're eating clean, things like that. If you're getting the proper nutrients, you can avoid even the diseases caused by toxemia. The number one cause of all disease is malnutrition. Period. End of story. Prove me wrong if you're out there and you want to talk to me about or debate me or something about the root cause. Not the underlying cause, but the root cause is malnutrition. My opinion, but I believe I'm right on this one. I'm going to read a couple of studies here to prove my point of why we see all of these chronic conditions popping up. Now, science will tell you it's just because our generation is older than it's ever been before. And it's true. The average lifespan of people is longer than it ever has been. I shouldn't say that. It's actually declined the last 2 years. So 4 or 5 years ago, we were living longer than we've ever lived in human history. Unless the Bible is literal, where people live to be 700, 800, 900 years old. But to our scientific knowledge, we're living longer than ever. Scientists make a good point and say all of these degenerative conditions are caused because we are living longer than we ever have. And that's a good argument. However, when you look at organs independent from the human system, like in controlled environments, a human heart has the ability to beat for about 120 years. The human liver can regenerate itself like every 7 years, and they still have liver cells from the 1950s that are still alive and look like a young liver. Our brain, we believe, can live indefinitely if it's fed the right nutrients. So we have the power within us to live for 100 years or longer if we have these perfect bubble environments that don't cause all these genetic conditions. So again, it goes right back to malnutrition. Let me read some studies for you. This was a landmark study by Donald Davis and his team of researchers from the University of Texas. This was done and published in December 2004, the Journal of the American College of Nutrition. They studied the U.S. Department of Agricultural national data from both 1950 and 1999 in 43 different nutrient areas, including protein, calcium, phosphorus, iron, vitamin B2, vitamin C, etc., 42 different markers of nutrients. So that's a half century, roughly spanning 1950 to 1999, roughly 2000, so roughly 50 years. And they found that on average, nutrient levels declined in our food from a low end of 18% to a high end of 42%. That's crazy that vegetables and stuff grown in the 1950s were only half as nutritious as they were in 1999, 49 years later. Half as nutrition. I mean, you'd have to eat twice the amount of food just to get the same nutrients that was found in one thing in 1950. It doesn't end there. There was a study completed on an orchard in California in 1948. They compared nutrient values of the oranges from 1948 compared to 2004. This study concluded that you would have to eat 8 oranges today to derive the same amount of vitamin A that was found in 1 orange in 1948. Can you imagine that? 8 times decline in vitamin A. A more detailed study from the Cushey Institute found that from 1975 to 1997, they studied the different nutrients and the different percentages too, similar to Donald Davis's study, the University of Texas. They found that calcium levels dropped over 27%, iron levels over 37%, vitamin A levels 21%, vitamin C levels 30%, and the list goes on. Here's the last one. This is the one that's going to blow your mind. because I think I've already made a pretty good case that we need to be eating healthier, that we need a more wide variety of nutrients, and most likely you're gonna have to take supplements too, just because you could eat all the food you want and you're not gonna get enough. In fact, I'll make that point here a little bit later. But listen to this one. The NIH conducted a study in 2004, which collected dietary information on fruit and vegetable consumption from average Americans, 100,000 people. The results of this study were shocking. They concluded that only 12% of the adult population consumed enough fruits to meet the minimum intake to maintain health. That means like 12%, only 12% were at the bare minimums needed to maintain health, which means, again, 88% of the population was at malnutrition levels. When it came to vegetables, only 9%. You guys have heard my trainings before about how amazing all the colors are and all the phytonutrients we get out of our vegetables. Only 9% of our population is getting enough servings of vegetables to maintain minimum health. That shows you that between 88 and 92% of our population is mal. It could be that we're overeating carbs, or we're overeating foods that have no nutrients, and we're not eating enough nutrient-dense foods. Have I proven a good enough case to you all that you need to supplement? I took the 16-ounce bag of arugula from the grocery store, and I spent my own money grinding it up, sent it to a lab, had it analyzed. It came back better than I thought. About 20% of your total vitamin A intake was in 16 ounces, which that whole pack you buy at Costco, that's 16 ounces, by the way. It's a lot. It's 1 pound of dark green leafies. It only had about 4% of calcium, about 8%. Maybe I'll post those results. I'm traveling tomorrow. It's LifeWise convention, so I don't know when I'll get to it, but maybe somebody will remind me there and I'll post those results. But I found out you would have to eat about 8 pounds of arugula, which is the really super nutrient-dense dark green leafy that everyone thinks is so good for them. 8 pounds, which is 8 of those full big packets you get at Costco every day, and you still would be deficient in a lot of nutrients. For vitamin C, you'd have to eat like 16 packages of them. For iron, it was like 4 packages, 4 pounds of it. So you just can't eat enough. You have to supplement, all right? So getting to that point, I want to talk about the most advanced, the most amazing product I've ever developed in my career. Hands down, the best product I've ever developed, a product I take every day, and I've been taking every day for 2.5 years, and that is The One by LifeWise. I know it looks big and intimidating and all this stuff, but guys, all it is this. See that? I'm going to introduce you to LifeWise and The One today if you're new and haven't heard of The One. Because what I did is I took a combination of whole foods, fermented down by a specific company that I work with, and they took all of these superfoods like arugula, broccoli sprouts, holy basil, lemon peels, and guava, and they condensed it down and fermented it in these 7 little green capsules right here. You get more than 100% of the daily nutrients, all of basically the nutrients that you need. It is one of the most nutrient-dense products I've ever made, and it's 100% natural. And I don't mean natural like it's got these synthetic isolate vitamins in them that everyone claims is natural. I guess you could say they're from nature because they come from this planet and they're man-made, but that's not the nature I'm talking about. I'm talking about whole food. So when I say whole food, these are nothing but foods. In fact, you know what? I'm going to read a portion of the ingredient deck to you. 100% organic certified, red algae, guava, Indian gooseberry, holy basil, rose hips, Bix aureliana, nutritional yeast cultures, lemon peel extract, alfalfa leaves, oat grass, wheatgrass. There's no gluten in this product, all right? Pomegranate, acai, acerola cherries, blackcurrant. That's just a smidgen. I'm going to show you some things later that'll give you an inkling about how powerful this product is. It is one of the most nutrient-dense products on planet Earth. It's 100% whole food based, and it's vegan. Okay, even the tiny red capsule here that you might be asking, what's that little guy up there in the corner? That's 100% certified organic sea buckthorn oil containing all the omegas, omega-3, omega-5, omega-6, omega-7, and omega-9. It's crazy. Yes, children can take it. You can blend it in their smoothies. Open up these capsules and pour it in the yogurt if you want to. Or if your kid's big enough, you can swallow the capsules. Senior citizens can do the same thing. It's food. Of course, you can take it with your prescription. If your doctor says, don't eat food with your prescription, then you can't take The One, because The One is food. But if your doctor didn't say, hey, don't eat food with your prescription, then you can take this with your prescriptions. I don't care what prescription drug you're on. If you can eat food and take your prescription, you can take the one. Let me go over the list of nutrients in the one. So in total, there are 145 different nutrients in the one. Now, there's probably more, but that's all we've analyzed for. We know that chlorophyll contains naturally occurring vitamin K. So there's probably a whole bunch of nutrients in the one that we haven't tested and analyzed for. Because it is whole food and it's such a wide variety of food, there's probably a load of phytochemicals in there. We know chlorophyll's in there because it's a chlorophyll capsule. And I know the reds are in there, like lycopene, because we've got tomato extract and sesbania, which is really red. So I know lycopene's in there, but lycopene's not written on the labels. So there's probably hundreds of nutrients that we haven't tested for. I'm just going to go over the ones that we have, that we know's in there factually, okay? First and foremost, the whole food vitamin blend. There's over 20 different vitamins and minerals that I don't add. So they're not added because we have a little over, where are we at? 800 IUs or so of vitamin D3. It's about 20 micrograms of vitamin D3. And people always ask me, how come you don't have 2,000 IUs of vitamin D? I didn't add it. Ask God. It's in the food naturally that we have in there. Some of the yeast cultures and mushroom blends naturally occurring, a vegan source of vitamin D. Only what is in the original food is in the product. Now, that happens to be like 200% the US RDI, which I think is plenty for human health. The government thinks it's double what you need, but it's in there. We have well over 100%, up to 150, 180% of all the B vitamins naturally occurring in these foods. So we've got this whole food vitamin mineral blend, and the minerals come from food. Our calcium is actually red algae. I'm going to show you a Me Too product later. I have a photo of it. I hope I don't get sued, but I just took the information right off of Amazon because they sell it on Amazon. It says whole food, but then you look at the supplement facts panel, and they're all these synthetic isolates, so they're totally lying right on Amazon. But anyway, so we have this whole food vitamin and mineral blend. We have an organic vegetable blend. We have an organic superfruit blend. This is 100% certified organic superfruit, super veggie, and whole food vitamin blend, by the way. We have a 9-strain probiotic blend of 1 billion CFUs of 9 different types of probiotics in this product. We have a proprietary digestive enzyme blend of 8 different digestive enzymes that are multi-strain. They work at a variety of pH levels from pH of 1.7 to a pH of 11. In other words, they work in your GI tract. They also work in your bloodstream. They work throughout your whole body. So it's called a systemic enzyme. We have a trace mineral complex blend in there, also organic. It's mined from these humic shell deposits, but they're only about 10,000 years old, not 60 million years old like some of these trace mineral companies. So they're not rocks. They're literally fermented plant life from 10,000 years ago. It's about 5 million years away from becoming coal and maybe 100 million years away from becoming diamonds. But that's eventually what would happen to this stuff. But it's loaded with fulvic acid and humic acid. We have that trace mineral complex in here. We have the organic sea buckthorn oil, which is all of your omegas, plus your astaxanthin, which is what makes that nice ruby red color. So we've got all of these nutrients in one product. Now, I'm going to show you something. We sell this product, a month supply, $99. Why am I going to tell you that? Because I want to show you something. I'm going to start with a whole food blend. This is a whole food product I found on Amazon. When you click on the little supplement facts panel, it wasn't whole food. They had an organic certified veggie blend, but then all of their vitamins were synthetic isolates and their minerals were amino acid chelates. They had quinine 7, which is a synthetic form of vitamin K. They had methylcobalamin, which is a synthetic form of vitamin B12. They had methylfolate, a synthetic form of methylated folic acid. It was a horrible product. Of course, people are going to see this and say, oh, I'm going to buy that. It's 39 bucks. Yeah, it's cheap because it's cheap garbage. But let's just say, okay, comparison, 39 bucks for just the vitamin component, all right? Check this out. Here's the fruit and veggie blend. I compared milligram amounts and everything. Check out the price on that vitamin blend, 144 bucks for a fruit and veggie combo. 144 plus 40, we're at $184 right now. Just for a fruit and veggie, an organic certified fruit and veggie blend, and a multivitamin, okay? Here's a 9-strain probiotic, the same that we've got, 9-strain. This is a very reputable company, 44 bucks. So 184 plus 44, what does that take us up to? $228 right now. By the way, these are all on Amazon. So if you really feel like it, you can go buy these if you want. Pure encapsulation. Love this company. I actually used to work for Atrium. Pure Encapsulation is a great company. Systemic enzyme, the same. Actually, we have more enzymes in our product at higher quantities than this product. $77. I need a calculator. What was I at? 240 plus 77. So we're now like $311, $313. Okay. Here's your vegan omega. Sea buckthorn oil. Same stuff we're using. Same quantity. They have a 500 milligram capsule. Ours 350 milligrams. So it's slightly less, but it's close. But look at their price. $89. Were we at 311 plus 89? Oh, we're like right at $400 on Amazon. That's like cheapsupplements.com. If you went to the health food store and bought these things, you'd probably pay an additional 20 or 30%, $440, $450. Guys, I'm showing you the facts. These are printed right off of Amazon. You can get these for 99 bucks in a month's supply. Right here. It's a no-brainer. I hope to see as many of you as I can at our convention this weekend in Orlando, Florida. The only nutritional supplement you need. Everything else is an add-on to the one. If I've got shoulder pain, I'm going to take the one plus my Restore. If I've got hormonal imbalances, I'm going to take the one plus my Enhance for men. We don't have that anymore, but there's Enhance for women. I'm going to find something to fix my hormones after I take the one. If I've got brain fog, I'm going to take the one plus Clarity. If I'm not sleeping well, I'm going to take the one in the morning and dream at night. The one is all you need. And then if you have additional issues, you add your additional supplements. Or if you got to take a prescription, take the one plus your prescription. If your doctor tells you you've got to be on blood thinners or something, then take the one plus your prescriptions. I know exactly what these probiotics and enzymes do and what they're going to do to your bloodstream over time. And you're not going to be getting the platelet aggregation and clotting that would require you to take Coumadin or other blood thinners over time. I'm just saying the root of all disease is malnutrition. And if you fix the malnutrition portion, your body will have the power to begin to heal itself. Your mitochondria will have the nutrients they need to communicate better. The telomeres will have the energy they need to repair the tips of your DNA so you don't get the genetic mutations that lead to genetic disorders. The list goes on. Malnutrition is the root cause of all disease and the answer to that. The answer to not being malnourished, not making disease claims. Malnutrition is not a disease. It should be classified as a disease, but it's not. So thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Tracy Gibbs, Chief Science Officer for LifeWise, and I will see you all later.